The Arabian Desert, one of the harshest ecosystems on the planet. Summer days see scorching temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius. And during winter nights, the temperatures plunge well past -25. The animals that call these dunes, rocks, and canyons home specialize in the extreme. One of these desert residents is a small one that you may have never heard of. The sand cat. They may look like house cats, but these beige beauties are the only cat to live predominantly in the desert. And they're built to handle its extremes. On especially hot days, the sand can reach temperatures of 80 degrees Celsius, hot enough to burn a cat's feet. Sand cats, however, have long fur that covers their pads, protecting them from the hot Arabian sand. This comes with a secondary benefit. It allows them to leave almost no footprints, making it near impossible for predators to track them. But in the desert, heat is only half of the equation. With little water vapor in the air to trap warmth, at night, temperatures plunge into the freezing. Fortunately, sand cats have a thick coat that insulates their body from the cold, keeping them warm at night and cool during the day. Spotting a sand cat is difficult. They live in low densities, they're extremely well camouflaged, and when they move, they stay low to the ground. Even when they run, they'll keep their bellies as close to the ground as possible. While they may look silly, they can still top 40 kilometers an hour. During the day, they will try to avoid the intense sun by napping in the shade or in their burrows. At night is when they're most active. Their habitat is almost barren. Vegetation, water, and prey are rare. To find a meal, sand cats travel vast distances, covering up to 8 kilometers a night. Their massive habitat is sparsely populated by creatures doing their best to stay under cover. To find something to eat in this trying terrain, sand cats have two big advantages. Their ears. Their ears are giant and contain an ear canal that's roughly twice as wide as a domestic cat's. These cats can pick up very low frequencies, a helpful skill in the open desert, where low sounds travel the furthest. These adorably oversized ears allow them to hear prey scuttling in the sand up to half a kilometer away. With meals few and far between, these cats aren't picky eaters. They'll eat whatever they can get their paws on. In this case, a cricket. The desert is a dry and unforgiving place to live. This sand cat will have to take what she can get. Water is scarce, but sand cats don't need it. They have adapted to survive without having to drink water. Instead, they get all the moisture they need from their prey. Though this sand cat has her ears on something a bit more substantial than a cricket. A mouse. She picks up on the sound of it scurrying over the ridge. She has to move quickly and quietly, or she'll lose it in the rocks. She lowers her body to the ground, ready to pounce. Lucky for her, the mouse didn't hear her coming. She swallows it whole and runs off into the night. While their big ears help make them deadly predators, they have another use: listening for other sandcats. These felines live at very low densities, and between two potential mates may be dozens of kilometers of harsh terrain. They'll call out, making a sound resembling a bark. If they're lucky enough to find a partner and succeed in mating, mothers will usually have a litter of 3 kittens. The kittens grow fast, reaching 3/4 of their adult size in just 6 months. In a year, they'll be independent. Like all small cats, sandcats are incredibly elusive, and we know very little about them. Their populations are spread out in remote areas with harsh environments. And so, studying them is almost impossible. Fortunately, for the same reasons that they are hard to study, they're also protected from poaching and human encroachment. In fact, until 2015, we knew almost nothing about these desert-dwelling felines. And we still have so much to learn. But thanks to a handful of dedicated researchers working with limited resources and new technologies like VHF collars and trap cams, we're starting to shed light on one of the world's most unknown species: the elusive sandcat.
Hey everyone, we have exciting news! We're thrilled to announce the release of Animalogic's very first book, Strange Creatures. This book dives into the most incredible animals we've ever featured on the show, with each chapter packed with my illustrations and stunning full-color images. It's a fun and engaging way to learn about the animal kingdom, and a perfect tool to spark kids' interest in science. Each chapter breaks down an animal's biology, behavior, and all the coolest facts you need to know about these fascinating creatures. Animalogic's Strange Creatures is a must-have addition to your own library, or the perfect gift for an animal lover this upcoming holiday season.
Click the link in the description to check it out, and if you can, order a copy. It would mean the world. Thank you so much, and I hope that you love the book. The Sri Lankan mangroves. These submerged forests of South Asia are constantly in flux. Serving as a natural barrier for the coast, life here is a challenge. With human encroachment, pollution, and climate change decimating the mangroves, life for animals here becomes more of a question with every passing day. Yet, there's one creature in this swamp that is defying the odds and our expectations at the same time. The fishing cat. In the water is probably the last place you'd expect to find your house cat. Yet, in the water is where this small cat, the fishing cat, dominates. With too much competition from predators on land, fishing cats were forced to explore a new niche in order to survive. They turned to the swamp. In order to conquer this new biome, fishing cats had to develop a whole series of adaptations. In the world of small cats, fishing cats are fairly large. Their larger size allows them to wrestle large fish out of the water. These stocky cats have short legs, deep chests, and most unlike other felines, they have short, stubby tails. Spending most of their time hunting in the water, these cats don't need long, graceful tails to help them balance. These swamp things are the world's only felines who specialize in fish. Other cats may eat a fish here and there, but fishing cats got their name for a reason. In a very unfeline-like fashion, Fishing cats dive face first into the water to ambush their prey. They'll wait by the water's edge, sitting perfectly still until they see a fish. This fishing cat has spotted one trapped in the shallows. She approaches silently. The fish is struggling, but it can't get out of the shallows. The cat pounces. But meals aren't usually so easy. This fishing cat will need to go a bit deeper. On the lookout for another fish, the cat waits. She spots a fish swimming along the bottom of the mangrove. She dives, sliding through the water with ease. Her head is long, narrow, and very hydrodynamic. She's built to dive. She catches the fish unaware and surfaces. Underwater, no one can hear you meow. They spend so much time of their lives in the water that they have adapted to swim quite well. Their toes on their front feet have partial webbing, which helps them propel themselves through the water. While fishing cats specialize in fish, they will hunt anything near the water. In this case, a duck. These swamp dwellers maintain large territories in pockets throughout South and Southeast Asia, occasionally overlapping with other fishing cats. They live solitary lives, only meeting to mate. Females will usually have a litter of 2 or 3 kittens, which are born extremely dependent on their mother. They develop quickly, and at just 1 month of age, they'll make their first jump into the water. Though their days of diving may be limited. Endangered, the fishing cat faces an uphill battle. The wetlands are disappearing. 35% of mangroves on the planet have dried up. Their habitat is being cleared to make way for agriculture and human infrastructure. Damming limits the flow of fresh water to the mangroves, increasing their salt content and killing the vegetation. Climate change has led to rising sea levels, which can decimate these coastal barriers. And poachers often trap fishing cats to sell them into the exotic pet trade for their skins and as retribution by fishermen for stealing fish out of their nets. But this cat was lucky enough to make it out alive, though not entirely unscathed. Conservation efforts for the fishing cat are difficult. These mysterious cats of the swamp are incredibly elusive and near impossible to find in the wild. Because of this, many people don't even know what they are. But there are people making a difference. The Fishing Cat Conservancy are educating children in India and Sri Lanka about the fishing cat, in hopes that they will come to love and respect them. They also provide local fishermen with tools, like crab boxes, so they can make a living out of the mangroves without having to cut them down. Fishing cats are just one resident in a biome that is disappearing around the world, and without help from people like you and me, the days for the mysterious fishing cat may be numbered. From the salt flats of Bolivia to the Patagonian grasslands, roams one of the most versatile predators on the continent. Despite being one of South America's most widespread felines, this voracious hunter is a ghost. Rarely seen and even less studied, this is South America's best kept secret. The Jeffries cat. Jeffries cats preside over a large kingdom, thriving in a wide variety of habitats. Mountains, forests, savanna, shrub, and grassland. Most of their territory is arid or semi-arid, like Bolivia's salt flats, which have given them their nickname Saltcat in German, which we're commandeering for this episode. If you are ever lucky enough to spot a saltcat in the wild, their size and coat will give you a clue as to where they hang their hat at night. Like with most species, the closer to the poles they are, the chunkier they are. Saltcats are no exception, and the warmer the locale, the skinnier their bod, and vice versa. Another clue to their home are their coats. In the warmer northern populations, their coats are an ochre color, while in the south, they are a silvery gray. This reflects the change in topography of their habitat. But the coolest saltcats are the swamp dwellers. Most commonly found in forests and wetland habitats is the melanistic variety of the saltcat. These black beauties have an elevated level of melanin, a skin and hair pigment that allows them to camouflage more effectively in their darker habitat. At night, they're unspottable. This not only makes them more effective predators, but it really makes you want to boop their snoot. Not that you should. At first glance, you might mistake a saltcat with a house cat, and you'd be forgiven, as they're about the same size, weighing only 4 kilograms. And that's not all they share with house cats. They too seem to forget what they were doing mid-step and start to clean themselves. Cats will be cats. Grasslands being their primary habitat, saltcats have long legs built for getting around. One reason for their long legs is to potentially help navigate floodplains. One of the most concentrated populations of saltcats are found around rivers in the Pampas region, which are prone to flooding. Having long legs gives the saltcats an advantage over other predators. While they aren't as arboreal as some of their cousins, they are adept in the trees, whether to escape a predator, to ambush prey, or to communicate with other saltcats. They do this in the most elegant way possible, with feces and urine. While solitary, they do meet up when it's time to mate, and they will travel vast distances, drawn to the scent markings of their potential mate. Breeding happens from mid-spring to early summer and will result in 1 to 3 kittens. Keeping away from predators, saltcats prefer to use trees, hollows, or other animals' burrows to have their kittens. Born tiny, blind, and dependent on their mothers, by their 3rd month, they can join their mom on the hunt. An addition that I can't imagine being all that helpful. Nevertheless, this kitten is doing the best it can to help its mom track down a meal. Saltcats are primarily nocturnal, and when the sun goes down, it's time to hunt. Unsurprisingly for a cat of its size, it specializes in small vertebrates, like mice, birds, and in the northern part of their range, frogs. This cat has caught the scent of a frog. She approaches slowly. With excellent night vision and a killer sense of smell, a frog is no match for a saltcat. Or so she thought. Within striking range, she pounces. But she loses it in the grass. In this case, the small cat is the Goliath, and she'll have to look elsewhere to feed her kitten. But the night wasn't a loss for everyone. This melanistic saltcat swaggers home in the morning with a mouthful of mouse. Though saltcats are vulnerable in some parts of their range, they are considered a species of least concern. While they are incredibly hard to spot in the wild, this one isn't as camera shy as you might think. Who says cats don't like selfies? Living primarily in grasslands, these cats haven't suffered much from deforestation. They do struggle with habitat destruction, especially with the construction of roads in their territory, and cars are a leading cause of death for Jeffrey's cats. But often, their territory is converted into farmland, in which they can survive, as where there's farms, there's mice. Jeffrey's cats also fall victim to poachers, and their pelts are the second most trafficked in the world. That said, like most small cats, Jeffrey's cats, or salt cats, are incredibly understudied and underfunded. We are still just scratching the surface of what we know about these elusive felids. And until we know more, they will remain South America's best kept secret.
Pallas's cats may look like cute and lazy house cats, but don't let that fool you. They've made home to one of the most difficult places to live in the world, the Himalayas. Pallas's cats, or manul, are a species of small cat found in the Eurasian steppes, living everywhere from the Mongolian deserts to the Himalayas. They are the only living members of the Autocolobus genus, and their closest living relatives are leopard cats, with their last common ancestor living just under 6 million years ago. A common question asked about Pallas's cats is, can I own one? The answer is, as always, no. And while Pallas's cats may resemble domestic cats, their last common ancestor lived 6.2 million years ago. They get their name from the German naturalist who first formally described them, Peter Simon Pallas, though their scientific name, Autocolobus manul, has a much more interesting meaning. Autocolobus means ugly-eared, an assessment that I can't say I entirely agree with. Their so-called ugly ears do serve a purpose though, hiding. Unlike most other cats, which have big, pointed ears, Pallas's cat's ears are short and round. This comes in handy when you spend most of your day hiding from both predators and prey, as pointy ears would be all too conspicuous. Living in the steppes, their coats are also designed to blend in. In the winter, their fur is more gray, and in the summer, it becomes more of an orange-brown. Can you find the Pallas's cat? Oh, it's right there. Pallas's cats have been called the most expressive cats in the world. And while part of that reputation may come from their snaggly teeth, the main reason for their seemingly expressive faces is another feature that is different from other small cats: their pupils. If you look closely, you'll notice that unlike other species of small cat, Pallas's cats don't have vertical slits for pupils, and instead have round ones, just like us. This gives them somewhat of a more human look, and is probably why people on the internet call them their spirit animal. I guess they kinda sometimes do look like they also don't like Mondays. If anything, this makes them the Garfield of wildcats. But Pallas's cats don't have round pupils so that reputable news sites can put together listicles about the 14 times Pallas's cats threw more shade than Beyonce. They have them for hunting. Generally speaking, most cats with vertical pupils are ambush hunters. With vertical pupils, cats can control the amount of light that enters their eye because they can expand their pupils 300-fold, compared to round pupils which can only expand about 15-fold. Vertical pupils provide excellent vision along the y-axis and very good depth perception, two things key to ambush predators. They also tend to be found on smaller animals. Domestic cats have vertical pupils, but lions and tigers don't. This is due to how light enters the vertical pupil. When the vertical pupils are closer to the ground, there is less blur in their vision, and the sharper the predator's vision, the more likely they are to nab dinner. But here's where it gets weird. Cats with circular pupils are foragers, meaning they chase their prey. But Pallas's cats are ambush hunters, yet don't have the vertical slit pupils found on their relatives. We're not entirely sure why Pallas's cats have round pupils, but the leading theory is that since Pallas's cats' territory is so much more varied than other small cats, ranging from deserts to plains to mountains, they need the better overall vision that round pupils provide for finding prey at different elevations and for keeping an eye on their predators, like eagles. Pallas's cats are diurnal predators, meaning that they're active during the day. When hunting, they feed primarily on rodents, like gerbils and pikas, with the occasional small bird or young marmot thrown in the mix. Their prey of choice, though, is the pika.
They're the largest animal they can consistently catch, and it's much more efficient to catch one large prey than a couple small ones. Pallas's cats aren't fantastic runners, perhaps due to the difficult terrain they live in, and are much better at pouncing on prey as they exit their dens. Pallas's cats may look like they're fat cats, but it's all fluff. Despite appearances, they are quite small, with the largest weighing around 4.5 kilos, about the weight of an average domestic cat. Their poofy fur coat is to keep them warm in the extreme temperatures that they live in, and their fur is actually the densest fur of any cat in the world. Due to the extreme temperatures that they live in, estrus, or the period in which the female is fertile, lasts a mind-numbing 1 to 2 days a year. Move over, pandas! We have a new worst at reproducing species entering the arena. Pallas's cats live in very low densities, with only 4 to 8 cats per 100 square kilometers. That would be like if you were here in Toronto, there would only be about 25 to 50 people in the entire city. Would be nice. Since their ranges are so huge, and since they are so solitary, it makes it incredibly difficult for them to find a mate in this limited time window. If they do, their gestation period is 10 to 11 weeks. After which, Mom will make a den, lining it with fur, feathers, and leaves to protect the kitties from the extreme temperatures. The kittens weigh only 100 grams when born and are quite possibly the cutest things I've ever seen. Pallas's cats are very difficult to find, let alone study in the wild. Their territory is huge, they're very good at hiding, and their numbers are small. Yet despite this, poachers still manage to catch them to sell their fur and guts for use in traditional medicine. Pallas's cats are near threatened, and every year life gets a little harder as we develop into their habitat and drive out their prey. Something as docile as herding can be a big problem for Pallas's cats, as herders need dogs, which kill a lot of Pallas's cats and their prey. It's a hard problem that's difficult to solve, but the first step is getting the word out. From the shores of the Nile to the jungles of Vietnam lives a species that has conquered the myriad of terrain in this 8,000-kilometer stretch. This is one of the most widespread cats that you've probably never heard of. The swamp cat. The swamp cat, also known as the jungle cat, reed cat, or incorrectly the swamp lynx, is the feline equivalent of a jackal, an animal that can survive in a variety of habitats and subsist on a variety of diets. This all-terrain feline has adapted to life in an incredible variety of habitats: savanna, grassland, desert, wetland, and forest. Found all the way from the pyramids in Egypt past Angkor Wat, these cats have conquered more distance than Genghis Khan. The swamp cats are defined by their adaptability. Despite their ability to thrive in a variety of environments, they are best suited for life in the wetlands, like swamps and reeds. Towards the Mediterranean, they are primarily found in wetlands, while in Central Asia, they are most often found in river valleys. While their populations are relatively healthy in the foothills of the Himalayas, they don't do terribly well in cold weather and have a warm weather coat, thus limiting their range to the north. Despite one of their names being the jungle cat, one of the habitats that they don't do particularly well in is their namesake, the jungle. High canopy forests, like rainforests, don't have as many small plants on the ground for the cats to hide in, leaving them vulnerable to predators. In the wetlands, however, the abundance of low vegetation keeps them much safer. Even though they thrive in multiple habitats, the wetlands are what they are built for. They have long, graceful legs, which allow them to walk through flooded terrain with ease. Their coats are reddish-beige, with dark stripes along their tail to help them camouflage in dense foliage. Swamp cats also have long, tufted ears, which help them camouflage by breaking up their outline while hiding in vegetation. tufts also make them resemble another felid, the lynx. Yet despite their ears, they're much more closely related to the black-footed cat and, you guessed it, the domestic cat. And they share a diet with their cousins too, though theirs is much broader. Their diet varies by region, but is generally made up of rodents and small animals weighing under a kilogram, like young hogs, baby gazelles, ducks, and chitals. One of the reasons that swamp cats are able to thrive in such differing territories is their ability to eat a wide variety of food, including veggies. In some areas, including Uzbekistan, about 15% of their diet is made up of olives. But this cat has her eyes on something tastier than an olive. Like domestic cats, swamp cats are ambush hunters. She slowly approaches her prey. She needs to get as close as possible before striking. Stealth is her friend. If her pounce fails, she'll have to go on the pursuit. But being able to run up to 32 kilometers an hour, catching a rat snake shouldn't prove too difficult. The dense vegetation gives her an advantage, masking her body as she approaches. Now within range, she pounces. She grabs the snake, mistaking its tail for its head. The rat snake retaliates, biting her in the neck. She recovers as the snake attempts to escape. She follows, grabbing the snake by its neck this time, suffocating it. Hunting primarily at dusk and dawn, she'll spend the rest of her day basking in the sun, until it's cooled down and she's ready to go back out on the prowl. Like most cats, the swamp cat is a solitary species, and the only time they'll be seen together is when it's time to mate. The males are larger than the females, weighing between 5 and 9 kilograms, and it's the females that do all the parenting. While the swamp cat is considered a species of least concern, their numbers are decreasing across their range. Habitat destruction due to deforestation is their main concern, as are regulations. In India, for example, a large part of their territory is considered wasteland and thus subject to much less environmental regulation, leaving the swamp cat with few ambassadors. Fortunately, occupying territory twice the width of the United States, these all-terrain felines stand a good chance at weathering the storm. A mysterious hunter from a surprising lineage that has colonized most of the tropical habitats in the Americas. A mortal enemy of one of the Amazon's most charismatic creatures. This killer is the shadow of a shadow. Mysterious, elusive, deadly. This is the jaguarundi. The jaguarundi is one of the most widespread cats in the Americas, one of the most diurnal, and one of the most adept to grassland environments. And yet, we know very little about these elusive animals. In many ways, the jaguarundi seems to resemble weasels and teras more than they do other cats. In fact, reports of jaguarundis are often misidentified mustelids. Their elongated body, solid color without spots or rosettes, and relatively small limbs and ears give them a prehistoric look. Early cats, such as Proailurus, probably looked more like jaguarundis than tigers or domestic cats. For a while, they were a mystery. Why are they so different from other Central and South American cats, like margays and ocelots? The answer turned out to be that they belong to a completely different lineage, and are more closely related to cougars and cheetahs. Cheetahs seem like a weird cousin to an American small cat, but there were cheetahs in North America for millions of years, until about 12,000 years ago. And like their cousins, they originated in Eurasia and migrated to the Americas via the Bering Strait. American cheetahs died out during the Holocene megafauna extinction event, which also saw the end of American lions, mammoths, and ground sloths in the region. But cougars and jaguarundis, who managed to colonize South America, survived there and later came back to recolonize North America. This difficult evolutionary history created sturdy and adaptable hunters. Jaguarundis survive in a variety of environments, from jungles to savannas to semi-arid thorn scrubs. But their success is limited by the success of their two mortal enemies, humans and ocelots. Humans hunt jaguarundis for sport and to protect their livestock, and ocelots often outcompete and catch jaguarundis for food. Ocelots can be up to 15 kilograms and are nearly as good at hunting on the ground as they are in the trees. Jaguarundis are on average only 5 kilograms and prefer sticking to the ground, where their gray or reddish coloration keeps them hidden from predators and prey. Ocelots are avoided with such rigor that jaguarundis usually hide for the entirety of their nemesis's nocturnal hunting shift. These little stocky cats will start hunting at sunrise, when the ocelot sleeps, and stay out until sunset. And unlike their bigger rivals, jaguarundis are also able to thrive in open grasslands. A study on the Mexican population showed that jaguarundis spend half of their time on open pastures and the other half in forests, while ocelots spend over 80% of their lives in jungle trees. Jaguarundis don't get to eat too many monkeys or nesting birds, but instead, they catch a huge variety of small prey. The average weight of their prey is 400 grams, about the size of a large rat. Ground-feeding birds and rodents such as guinea pigs are their favorite prey. But they are generalists, and in different areas, their diet varies. In areas with abundant birds, they can leap over 2 meters to catch them in mid-air. As a general rule, they eat whatever is most abundant and easy to catch, even if it's larger prey. In areas near humans, chickens are the easiest prey. This puts them in conflict with farmers who often kill them to protect their poultry. Because of their adaptability, they have colonized most of the Americas, from North America to Argentina. Only their cousins, the cougars, have a larger range in the Americas. There used to be reports of them in the southern United States, from Texas to Alabama, but the last confirmed sighting was a roadkill from 1986. Rapid urbanization and habitat fragmentation likely caused the disappearance of the American jaguarundis. In their current range, the populations are stable, especially in the rainforests and near grasslands of Mexico and the Amazon. They're currently considered a species of least concern, though their habitat is shrinking in some parts of their range. And though they're found in a massive expanse of land, they live in very low densities, and in some cases require ranges of up to 100 square kilometers to get enough food. Luckily, their adaptability and generalist diets make them great survivors, and more resilient to change than other New World cats. But that doesn't mean we can get complacent. Protecting their habitats protects these magnificent hunters as well as other animals in their ecosystems. The Scottish Highlands, an ancient land rich in myth and legend. But one of its most emblematic figures is seldom seen, but has a reputation as a ferocious hunter and fearless protector of its brood. Known to charge humans without warning, this is not a beast you want to encounter. This is the Highland tiger. The Highland tiger, or Scottish wildcat, is the rarest cat in the world, with a total pure wildlife population of about 50. Which probably explains why they are so famous for looking constantly pissed. These cats are the original grumpy cats. The Scottish wildcats are the last surviving felids in the British Isles. Thousands of years ago, saber-toothed cats and cave lions roamed these lands, but went extinct at the end of the last glacial period. The Eurasian lynx went extinct during the Roman Britain era due to overhunting for fur. And then there was one. The Scottish wildcat survived, but it kept being persecuted as it was thought to attack livestock. Their range kept shrinking, and by the mid-1800s, they could only be found in the remote and sparsely populated highlands. So how did this cat outlive its powerful cousins? By being really good at hiding from humans and adapting to eat anything in their environment. Like other European wildcats, Highland tigers are stockier and about 50% larger than a domestic cat. They're very quiet and can easily hide in burrows and under vegetation. They usually have a tabby pattern coat, which helps them camouflage in tall grass. Their coats blend in with vegetation in their prey's eyes. Even us, with triconal vision, have a hard time spotting them in the wild. This is particularly helpful for their kittens, which are born defenseless. They can breed up to twice a year. They usually mate in the winter, with babies born in early spring, and sometimes moms can get pregnant again with new babies born in the summer. By 3 months of age, they're fully weaned, and they become independent soon after. But until then, mom is there to protect them furiously. If you see a Highland tiger in the wild, it most likely wants you to see him. They don't really attack without a reason, but if they feel threatened or cornered, they will hiss, stomp, and make themselves appear larger. If this fails, they launch themselves at the threat. This is relatively common for cats, but in some cases, their aggressiveness can border on the legendary. There was a mythical black cat in the Highlands called the Kellas cat, but of course, after decades of sketchy reports, it was proven to be true. The Kellas was known to be an aggressive beast that killed sheep, attacked civilians, and could swim in rivers and lochs to catch fish. In the 1980s, the first Kellas cat was captured. Since then, several other specimens have been observed, including kittens. DNA tests showed that some are melanistic Scottish wildcats, but most are hybrids of domestic cats. Melanistic Scottish wildcats eat the same as their tabby cousins, small mammals. Their diet is determined by their geography. Like most carnivores, Scottish wildcats are opportunists. In the eastern part of their range, their main prey are rabbits. In the west, there aren't as many rabbits, so small rodents make the bulk of their meals. Smaller animals are dispatched with a bite to the back of their neck. Being cats, they will catch other animals given the chance. Baby deer are an occasional jackpot and are killed by crushing their windpipe. Hunters have commented on their ability to kill grouse and other birds, and their preference for eating just the head. Cat's gonna cat, and wildcats are not too different from their domestic cousins. Unfortunately, in the Scottish wildcat's case, this similarity is threatening them. Feral cats and domestic cats that are allowed to go outside can breed with Scottish wildcats. The vast majority of cats in the wild are now hybrids, with estimates of pure wildcats as low as 50, which makes them functionally extinct. Since wildcats don't really care about genetic purity when it comes to mating, they end up mating with domestic cats. The issue is that domestic cats are descendants of Middle Eastern wildcats, which are not used to highland winters. This could have devastating effects when their gene pool becomes so diluted that there are no longer any pure Scottish wildcats in the Highlands. They also introduce diseases that Scottish wildcats can't fight off, so their effect could be devastating. Of course, there have been lots of efforts to understand and protect Highland tigers. There's a large number of initiatives taking place right now. Some of the plans include trapping them to examine them and fitting them with GPS collars to learn about their behavior. There are also trap cams to identify areas of activity and DNA tests to see their level of hybridization. Breeding programs have been created to release more pure wildcats into the wild, though it's a slow process and hybrids in the wild breed fast. The current number of feral domestic cats and hybrid cats in the Highlands can be as high as 4,000. Or one pure Scottish wildcat for every 80 hybrids. If you live in the Highlands, or anywhere really, please make sure you vaccinate and neuter or spay your kitties. If they escape and breed with the local wildlife, it would be really romantic, but could negatively affect the ecosystem. Not to mention, you may end up with more unplanned kittens that might overload already packed animal shelters. I know this is controversial, but keep your cute kitties home. The Binturong looks like a mix between a bear, a cat, and a monkey, but they're more than the sum of their weird-looking parts.
The Binturong, or bear cat, is found in Southeast Asia.
They are members of the vivarid family, which makes them the close relatives of civets and genets. Though, based on their appearance, they look to be more the drunk uncles of civets than anything else. Civets and genets look like a hybrid between a cat and a ferret. They're quite adorable, graceful, and elegant. On the other hand, the Binturong stumbles around like it's doing a perpetual walk of shame.
And when you hear what it gets up to, you might think that it is.
A big contributor to their disheveled old man look is their coloring. Their fur is black and peppered, or salted, I guess, with white, giving them an aged look, while their whiskers are white and very wiry, not helping their cause.
Binturongs live in the lowland jungles of Southeast Asia.
They are arboreal, yet unlike their agile cousins, they don't jump from branch to branch, and instead will climb all the way down to the jungle floor when they need to switch trees. This is interesting because they do have a large prehensile tail. It's about as long as their bodies, and it's oddly reminiscent of a giant anteater's tail.
Their hind feet have an interesting adaptation for climbing.
Their third and fourth toes are joined. This gives them better leverage when grabbing branches. One possible reason for their lack of jumping is the fact that they're quite large, weighing up to 20 kilos, making leaping from branch to branch more challenging.
While they are in the carnivora order, they are omnivorous and will eat a wide variety of meals. Basically, anything that they can catch.
They'll eat birds, lizards, rodents, eggs, but the majority of their diet is made up of fruit. In fact, they eat so much strangler figs that it's through Binturong feces that strangler figs primarily spread their seeds. Binturongs also have crushing cheek teeth, which is an indication of a frugivorous or fruit-reliant lifestyle that is quite rare amongst civets. They have large, sharp claws used for climbing and for defense. When threatened, they can become very aggressive and will defecate, urinate, growl, bite, and maul as necessary.
All elements in a good fight.
To communicate with other Binturongs, they'll use a series of screeches and growls. They also use their large, wiry tail to communicate by shaking it or making it stand up to communicate aggression. Binturongs are primarily active at night and in the early morning, with full moon nights seeing the most activity. They are highly solitary animals and don't often meet outside of mating.
Females have the ability to delay embryo implantation,
meaning that they can mate year-round, but she'll time the embryo implantation so that the babies are born between January and March.
possibly the weirdest thing about binturongs are their scent glands.
These exposed glands are located next to their genitals, and they'll use them to leave scent marks on everything that they sit on or rub up against. Sometimes they will even pee on their large bushy tail and use it as a brush to mark trees in their territory.
But the weird thing is that it smells like popcorn.
The reason their scent glands smell like popcorn is because of a chemical reaction present in their glands that is also present in the making of popcorn. It's called the Maillard reaction. This chemical reaction, sometimes called the browning reaction, is the same one that occurs when cooking meat, making bread, or in a lot of other cooked foods. Binturongs, however, have a bacteria in their intestinal tract that is responsible for producing this delicious-smelling compound, which they use to communicate.
So if you're ever around a binturong and you smell popcorn, just remember, you smell their genitals.
Binturongs are a vulnerable species, and their numbers have declined by 30% over the last 18 years.
One of the main culprits is poaching.
They are killed for their meat and skin, as well as captured to be sold in the exotic pet trade. But the major reason for their population loss is habitat degradation due to deforestation.
The forests that they live in are being knocked down at increasing rates to make room for the palm oil industry.
Not only do they eliminate critical binturong habitats by cutting down vast stretches of forest to make room for palm oil plantations, but during the logging process, they build roads into otherwise inaccessible rainforests, making it easier for poachers to drive in and pick off any binturongs looking for a new tree to climb.
But the good news is that you can help.
Many of the problems facing different animals seem impossible for a single person to help make a difference. But with binturongs and the many other species in Southeast Asia whose numbers are drastically declining due to increased demand for palm oil, you can make a difference with your purchasing decisions.
Palm oil is found in a lot of everyday products, and some of the biggest contributors are soap and shampoo.
So next time you're shopping, look for products that are certified palm oil free or contain sustainably sourced palm oil. If there isn't a certification on the bottle, check the ingredients. They tend to mask the word palm oil under lauryl or laureth sulfates.
You don't have to drastically change your lifestyle to make a difference for binturongs. And switching your shampoo is a way to send a message to companies that you're not okay with habitat destruction.
The jungles of South and Central America are home to a tricky little mimic. These adorable predators rule the treetops with an overly fuzzy paw. This is the most arboreal cat in the world, the trickster of the trees, the tamarin's bane, the Margay. The Margay, or painted cat, is the middle child of the Leopardus genus, fitting in between the smaller oncilla and the larger ocelot. If ocelots are mini jaguars, then Margays are mini ocelots. Ocelots can weigh up to 15 kilograms, while a Margay will weigh at most 4 kilograms. Despite being roughly a third of the size, a Margay can be hard to tell apart from an ocelot, but the big clue is their eyes. Margays have giant puss-in-boot eyes that stand out much more than an ocelot's. While the ocelot's size and adaptability have allowed it to conquer a myriad of terrain, the Margay is a specialist. And their area of choice? The treetops. Margays are one of the, if not the, most arboreal cats in the world. Allowing them to conquer such a physically challenging habitat are a series of evolutionary adaptations. First and foremost, their feet. Jungle trees are full of twists and turns, and only the most dexterous of species are able to navigate them with any sort of skill. It's this demanding habitat in which New World monkeys, with their prehensile tails and opposable thumbs, thrive. Similarly, Margays have evolved their own tools to get around. They have ankles that can turn up to 180 degrees. This, in combination with their sharp claws, allows them to descend trees head first, greatly increasing their agility in the tree canopy. They also have very long tails, which allow them to balance in the treetops, a key tool in hunting their prey of choice. Tamarins, and other New World monkeys. In order to traverse the jungle canopy with any speed, You have to be able to make decisions very quickly and adapt to new situations at the drop of a hat. Branches may not lead where you expect, and prey species may be more familiar with their territory than you are. If you're not smart, they'll outmaneuver you. Margays are very intelligent, and while they are experts in navigating the trees and can jump up to 3.5 meters horizontally, they know that sometimes it's smarter to let the prey come to you. These cats are tricksters. Instead of chasing down prey, they've been known to mimic them instead. One cat was seen mimicking the vocalizations of a baby tamarin, although poorly. And when the adults showed up to see what was going on, it pounced. While the jungle canopy provides a lot of different prey options, like bats, birds, and monkeys, they will venture more into the territory of their larger cousins, the ocelot, when the opportunity is right. This Margay has spotted something moving on the ground. A rat! She starts to make her way down the tree. Having not seen the Margay descending from the canopy, this rat's day is about to get a lot worse. The Margay silently advances. Its massive paws help mask the sound of its approach. She pounces. But this rat isn't going down without a fight. The rat jumps, kicks, and bites, trying to ward off its attacker. It looks like the rat might make it out alive. But at long last, the Margay gets a hold of the rat's neck and crushes its windpipe. A good day for the Margay is good night for the rat. Margays are nocturnal and usually spend their days asleep in the trees, but this opportunity was too good to pass up. With their giant eyes built for night vision and their giant paws built for climbing, it's easy to say that these are the cutest predators in South and Central America. But something that makes them even cuter, their fur. Like their cousins, their coats are covered in dark rosettes and streaks, meant to mimic dappled sunlight on the jungle floor. But they have an added feature. They have extra fuzzy fur, but no one really knows why. In fact, in Brazil, they are colloquially known as gato peludo, which means extra furry cat. Unfortunately, this coat is one of the reasons why they are listed as a near-threatened species. Their coats can be a hot item on the black market, and thus make Margays a popular target for poachers. They also suffer much more so than their less arboreal relatives from deforestation. Massive areas in their range can no longer sustain them or their prey due to fragmentation, deforestation, and urbanization, and their populations are only healthy in the Amazon basin. As we continue to segment their populations by dividing them with roads, farms, and cities, their numbers will continue to decline. The dense jungles of South and Central America are home to a wide variety of predators. Some big, some scaly, some airborne, and some small. This is the tiger cat. While their size may not instill the same fear in you as their namesake, this cat is nothing to sneeze at. These tiny predators are the bane of tiny prey everywhere. The tiger cat, or oncilla, is the smallest member of their genus, Leopardus, weighing just 15% of the weight of their beefy cousins, the ocelot. Recently, oncillas have been split into two separate species, the northern and southern tiger cat, The focus of this episode is the northern tiger cat. Though there are small pockets in Central America, the tiger cat is found primarily in South America, reaching as far south as Argentina. These cats thrive among the trees, with their preferred habitats being dense jungle, high-altitude cloud forest, and humid montane and pre-montane forests. But recently, tiger cats have been changing with the times. As their habitats continue to be broken up by roads and knocked down to make way for farms, tiger cats have had to push into new niches in order to survive. They can now be found in savannas and Brazil's thorny scrubland, the now aptly named Caatinga. These cats are highly adaptable. Unlike their larger cousins, the Margays, tiger cats aren't terribly arboreal, despite being good climbers. This has allowed them to conquer terrain that would be otherwise inhospitable to them. They do, however, still prefer a life adjacent to trees, as they offer good cover from predators and an easy escape route when necessary. Margays and tiger cats can be pretty hard to tell apart. Yes, tiger cats are smaller, but not by enough for their weight alone to distinguish them. There are 3 things that you can look at to check if it's a tiger cat. First is their eyes. Their eyes are further apart than a Margay's. The second is their ears. These are larger than their cousins. And finally, the tiger cat has a much pointier face than a Margay, with a narrower skull and snout. Their coats are covered in dark spots and rosettes, meant to help them blend in with the foliage in their habitat. Like most species of cats, tiger cats have false eye spots on the back of their ears. This is a form of self-mimicry, mimicking their own eyes in order to deter predators from sneaking up on them. Being such an elusive species, not much is known about what preys upon tiger cats. But one species that we know will hunt them is the ocelot. When threatened, tiger cats will arch their back, raise their hair, and bare their fangs. It makes for a bit of an awkward walk, but it is effective at making themselves look larger to ward off an attacker. Smaller than an average house cat, you might be able to guess what a tiger cat likes to eat. Birds and rats. Why is it always rats? These slender felines will take anything they can catch. And due to their diverse habitat, lizards are also on the menu. These cats are fast and have no problem chasing down even the nimblest of prey species. Stalking or ambushing, their kills are always the same. A bite to the back of the skull, severing the spinal cord, killing the prey instantly. When hunting birds, tiger cats will clean the bird of all their feathers prior to eating them. These cats are neat freaks. Unfortunately for tiger cats, the birds they often hunt are the easiest targets. Poultry. This is one of the reasons why they are listed as vulnerable species. They are targeted by poultry farmers in retaliation for killing their chickens. Retaliation killings continue to be a leading cause of death for the tiger cats. While the pelt trade for tiger cats has largely declined since its peak in the 70s and 80s, they continue to suffer from habitat fragmentation by roads, habitat destruction for agriculture, and collisions with vehicles. Another threat they face comes as a byproduct of humans trying to help. In protected areas meant to conserve wildlife populations, the much larger ocelot is a bit of a bully. Since they are larger and much more adaptable than tiger cats, the smaller cats are often forced into unprotected regions where they face the full brunt of humanity. Tiger cats need a large territory in order to thrive. With a range of up to 17 square kilometers, this often takes them through dangerous territory, like roads and farms. But tiger cats need to go where the food is. Their diet and behavior largely mirrors their prey. Since what they hunt is largely terrestrial and nocturnal, so are they. But in areas like the Caatinga, where their prey consists of diurnal lizards, tiger cats are much more active during the day. When they're not on the prowl, they'll be doing exactly what you'd expect. Grooming. Life. Grooming. Death. The feline way. They call it the rusty-spotted cat, but its hunting skills and its claws are razor sharp. Locals might spend their whole lives without seeing one. For many prey across the region, it's the last thing they'll ever see. This is the little Prince of Darkness, the lightest cat in the world, the rusty-spotted cat.
The rusty-spotted cat is the smallest cat species in the world. They're so small and graceful that they've been called the hummingbirds of cats. But they're also so rare and beautiful that you could call them the fairies of the feline world.
Rusty-spotted cats are so tiny and so good at hiding that they rarely get spotted, even though they have a gigantic range throughout South Asia. They live south of the Himalayas from Nepal to Sri Lanka, and the vast forests of India are home to the majority of their population.
There are an estimated 10,000 of these tiny cats in the wild, but very little is known about them, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all is their size.
They're slightly shorter than an average house cat, but they're also much leaner. In fact, they're the lightest cats in the world. Adult male rusty-spotted cats weigh just about 1.5 kilos, while a domestic tomcat can be 4 times heavier. They're so tiny that, at birth, they weigh less than a chicken egg. Their title of world's smallest cat is somewhat in dispute, as while they are the lightest cat in the world, the guinia of South America and the black-footed cat of Southern Africa are both shorter than the rusty-spotted cat. So it depends on how you define smallest.
But despite their size, they are lethal predators with incredible speed and agility. 19th century naturalists who kept them captive commented on their climbing skills and amazing ability to catch squirrels in trees.
While squirrels and birds' nests are an option, the rusty-spotted cat's favorite prey are frogs, lizards, and small mammals.
In the forest, it's easy to sneak up on unsuspecting prey, but in the open grassland, it requires both stealth and speed.
This male uses cover of darkness to look for its next meal. It quietly makes its way into open grassland, where its prey is easier to spot. Finally, it sees something delicious, a gerbil. The cat needs to get closer before it pounces, and luckily for him, a small ditch provides cover. The gerbil senses something isn't right. The cat attacks. It's a short chase. Dinner is served.
Beside their ninja-like combination of speed and stealth, they have a level of self-confidence that I can only aspire to. Dress for the job you want. There are reports of rusties pouncing on much larger animals, like baby deer, and only letting go when being physically pulled off. They're pretty badass. They've got that lion in them. Wow, wow, wow!
Another reason for their success is how they've been able to adapt to several different ecosystems. They live in deciduous forests, hill slopes, and shrublands. And more recently, they've become neighbors with humans. They have adapted to low-density farmland, which makes sense since farms give them access to livestock and to rodents, their favorite prey. Farmland also provides good denning spots for moms, who will feed and protect her kittens until they're old enough to catch meals for themselves.
Rusties sometimes munch on poultry, But these attacks are far less common than those perpetrated by their cousins, the leopard cats, who are well-known chicken killers. Nebula. Unfortunately, many farmers have a blanket no-cat policy on their farms and will often shoot on sight.
Rusty spotted cats share some of their habitats with some of their closest relatives, fishing cats and leopard cats. Both of these cats are larger than the rusty spotted cat and have vast ranges. This makes it easier for them to cross swamps. They're fairly similar cats from the same genus and had a common ancestor about 8 million years ago. Rusties were the first species to diverge from the rest of the genus about 6 million years ago.
And ever since then, they've established themselves as being one of the most widespread and resilient cats in South Asia.
This is one of the most important animals in human history. Out of the steppes of Africa, we revere their descendants as kings of the internet. No, we're not talking about lions. We're talking about the felines that domesticated themselves to become our purry companions. The African wildcat.
The African wildcat is a solitary predator who somehow managed to make a truce with humans, an event that led to one of the most enduring symbiotic relationships in history. So who are these elusive cats?
African wildcats are small cats in the Felis genus. They're found in Africa, as well as the Middle East and large parts of Asia, where they're known as Asiatic cats. The exact borders of their range are hazy, because in some areas they overlap and hybridize with other species.
African wildcats are the southern neighbors of the European wildcat and the Scottish wildcat, which we have talked about before on the channel and were lucky enough to film back in 2019.
Like other European wildcats, Highland tigers are stockier and about 50% larger than a domestic cat. They're very quiet and can easily hide in burrows and under vegetation. They usually have a tabby pattern coat, which helps them camouflage in tall grass. Their coats blend in with vegetation in their prey's eyes. Even us with triconal vision have a hard time spotting them in the wild. This is particularly helpful for their kittens, which are born defenseless.
While they may be geographically closer to the Eurocats, the African wildcat is more closely related to the insanely rare Chinese mountain cat, which can only be found on the northeastern edge of the Tibetan Plateau. If I ever got to see a Chinese mountain cat, I would literally die.
African wildcats are slightly larger than your average domestic cat, but about the size of a Bengal. This is my Bengal Nebula for you to get an idea for how big they are.
And loud. Nebs is real loud. So far, they seem like fairly standard small cats. But their true claim to fame is being the ancestor to every domestic cat in the world. No big deal.
The African wildcat are to domestic cats what wolves are to dogs. This sturdy wild hunter got domesticated 10,000 years ago in the Middle East. And ever since then, their litter-trained descendants have been following us wherever we go, begging for scraps and getting their little claws into everything.
The domestication of the African wildcat happened at a crucial time, when people were abandoning their hunter-gatherer ways and turning to agriculture for a more reliable source of food. These delicious carbs attracted grain-eating rodents and birds, which in turn attracted African wildcats.
In the wild, African wildcats eat rodents, hares, lizards, medium-sized birds like francolins, and even newborn antelopes. Those are the same animals that would be considered pests by early farmers, and the reason that some African wildcats basically domesticated themselves. Being around humans means easy access to their natural prey, as well as shelter.
When your cat acts weird and hides in boxes or climbs to high locations for seemingly no reason, it's all a sort of evolutionary flashback.
In the African wildcat's natural habitat of deserts, grasslands, and savannas, there aren't a lot of places to hide, and predators are always on the lookout. They're not big enough to be prey for lions, and it would be a bit weird to see a cat eat another cat. But martial and golden eagles, jackals, and pythons often prey upon the African wildcat. The domestic cat's reported fear of cucumbers seems to be an evolutionary aversion to snakes that arose from their days on the African savanna.
Their rivalry with domestic dogs started over 1 million years ago, and to this day, canids are still one of their chief threats.
Their coat is similar to those of other wildcats. It is the most efficient camouflage they can have in their dry habitats. All the colors of modern domestic cats are relatively new thanks to breeding for looks. But of course, an adorable Persian wouldn't do well in the savannas and deserts of Africa and the Middle East.
Wildcats have to be discreet and approach their prey quietly before pouncing. Most of their prey live in burrows, so a reckless attack will lead them directly into the safety of their nest and leave the cat hungry.
Besides the coloring and size, the main difference between wildcats and domestic cats is that wildcats are more solitary. Feral domestic cats tend to form colonies and tolerate each other to a degree. The African wildcat is a lone cat and only hangs out with others during mating season. Their litters are smaller than those of domestic cats, with just about 3 kittens on average.
So, with a vast range and the ability to adapt to a huge variety of environments, the African wildcat must be doing great, right? Technically, yes, but as usual, their kids are becoming a problem for them.
As human populations expand and bring domestic cats with them, these house cats tend to hybridize with wildcats, creating offspring that's less well equipped for life in the wild. Pure African wildcats are becoming rarer. This isn't a problem unique to African wildcats. Scottish wildcats have gone genetically extinct due to hybridization with domestic cats. There are virtually no pure Scottish wildcats left in the wild. On top of causing a degradation in genetic integrity, domestic cats can introduce diseases to wild populations.
There is not a lot that can be done beyond sterilizing domestic cats, but this is both expensive and time-consuming, and simply not a priority for local governments.
But if their numbers dip below a certain number, scientists can enlist domestic cats to help their ancestors.
House cat females have been proven to be effective surrogate mothers for African wildcats. A fertilized African wildcat egg can be implanted into the uterus of a domestic cat. It's a complicated process, but it's one that might eventually save this and other small cat species. Hopefully, we'll never get to a point where this is necessary for the African wildcat.
Shrouded in mystery, the first cat on Earth burst onto the Oligocene, conquered most of the world, and then disappeared without a trace. What made these formidable hunters so successful and yet so vulnerable to sudden extinction? This is the first cat in history, the Proailurus.
Today, we're taking a look at the origins of one of the most successful and charismatic carnivorous families, the cats. And our focus is the granddaddy of them all, the first cat in history, the Proailurus.
It lived across the Eurasian continent, and 27-million-year-old fossils have been found from the Iberian Peninsula to East Asia.
There are some unclassified fossils from North America that seem to be from the same species. But as of today, we have no confirmation that the first cat ever lived in North America.
These ancient kitties weighed around 9 kilos, about the size of the largest domestic cat breed, the Maine Coon. But Proailurus looked more like a civet than a modern cat. Civets are related to cats, and they still have a similar lifestyle to Proailurus. The first cat's legs were shorter, and its tail was longer than those of modern cats. This suggests an arboreal lifestyle. Their body was remarkably similar to the fossa, but this is just a case of convergent evolution. Despite their cat-like appearance, fossas are actually more closely related to mongooses and hyenas than to cats.
But convergently evolving a similar body plan for a likely similar lifestyle makes it a little easier to imagine how Proailurus might have behaved.
Based on their dentition, we can pretty comfortably say that their diet likely consisted of smaller mammals as well as birds and lizards, which is very similar to the menus of modern arboreal felines like margays.
But the fact that they had a few extra premolar teeth suggests that their diet might have included plant matter.
The Oligocene was a time of changing environments, and the forests where Proailurus originated gradually turned into grasslands. Proailurus might have come down from trees and become more adept at hunting on the ground, like modern salt cats. Unfortunately, there are only a handful of fossils, and then cats basically disappeared from the fossil record for about 10 million years. Nobody knows exactly why all cats became so rare throughout the world, especially in North America. This mysterious period is known as the Cat Gap.
Proailurus's American citizenship is controversial, but there were other closely related cat-like predators which all seemingly disappeared. The obvious answer is, of course, aliens. Well, no, I'm kidding. Probably not aliens, but maybe.
More likely the case is that these predators were specialists, and their prey may have declined due to environmental and ecological factors. Cats are hypercarnivores and can only subsist on meat. This type of diet makes animals more prone to extinction. A lengthy, widespread absence of prey would have been a catastrophe.
Around 18 million years ago, they started clawing their way back to the top.
Proailurus's possible descendant, the Pseudilurus, was a genus of at least 4 different species. They varied in size, with the smallest being the size of a swamp cat and the largest the size of a cougar. These early cats certainly lived in North America as well as Eurasia, though we don't know if it was they or their ancestors who made the trek across the Bering Land Bridge.
We're also not sure if they're direct descendants of Proailurus or of another yet-to-be-discovered cat species.
But we do know that they had retractable claws and were likely great climbers, like most modern cats.
We're still not sure if they liked sitting in boxes or purposely knocking plants off shelves.
These cats were more likely closely related to another cat species that radiated into felines as diverse as saber-tooths, lions, and eventually domestic cats. If Proailurus is the first cat, Pseudilurus is the closest we have to the most recent common ancestor of all living cats, the mother of cats.
The cat family tree is still being put together, so if you like finding fossils and helping to classify them, then we could surely use your help.
Small cats are some of the most efficient hunters. Under their cute pointy ears, there's a brain dead set on killing prey. But what sets them apart from each other and makes some species more successful hunters than others? These are the top 10 deadliest small cats. We're taking a look at the 10 deadliest small cats that we know of. It's an incomplete list because some small cats are so elusive and live in such remote locations that we simply don't have enough data. Some cats, like the pampas cat and the Andean cat of South America, the Bornean bay cat and the flat-headed cat of Southeast Asia, and the African golden cat, haven't been studied extensively because of their inaccessible habitats, their low population densities, and security concerns. Let's start our top 10. At number 10, with a 20% hunting success rate, we have the small cat geographically closest to me, the Canadian lynx. This big-pawed kitty lives in boreal forests all over Canada, Alaska, and has recently been reintroduced to the Colorado Rocky Mountains, where they had gone extinct in the 1970s. These felines are cold weather specialists, with giant snowshoe-like paws to quietly walk in the snow, long fur, and light mottled coats that help them blend in with the trees and snow. Chasing prey in the snow is nearly impossible, but the lynx's long limbs and wide paws allow them to stalk and pounce on their favorite prey, snowshoe hares. In some areas, these cute little bunnies make up 90% of the lynx's diet. But of course, a specialized hunter like this will also catch other mammals, as well as birds and fish. The next feline on the list vaguely resembles a lynx, but it lives in pretty much the opposite environment. We're talking about the 9th deadliest small cat in the world, with a 25% hunting success rate, the caracal. Caracals and lynxes have convergently evolved to have long, powerful legs to pounce on unsuspecting prey. Because of this, caracals are sometimes called Persian lynxes. In grassy areas, their height helps them spot small prey hiding in the foliage. From there, their jumping ability does the rest of the job. Whether they're trying to catch hyraxes, or leap to catch a bird taking flight, or even catching a baby antelope, the caracal's strategy is tried and proven. This hunting success of several species makes caracals one of the small cats, if not the small cat, with the most varied diet. And this has led to the expansion of their range from southern Africa all the way to India, which is great because more people get to see their adorable ears. At number 8, we have another long-legged cat. Hey, I'm seeing a pattern here. This is a North American species and the closest relative to the Canada lynx, the bobcat, which, despite being smaller than the Canada lynx, has a hunting success rate of up to 30%. Bobcats are the smallest members of the lynx genus. While their range overlaps slightly with the Canada lynx in the Great Lakes region and the Rockies, bobcats inhabit most of southern North America, whereas their larger relatives tend to stay in the forests of the north. Not being able to rely on pouncing on prey in the snow, bobcats are better at chasing prey and will catch any small prey species available in their domain. They thrive in areas as different as the swamps of Florida, the deserts of Texas and northern Mexico, and the forests of the North American East Coast. They're sometimes even seen in suburban areas. Without a specific prey, environment, or hunting style, the motto of the bobcat is quite simply, adapt or die. And it has successfully adapted to kill virtually any small animal in North America. At number 7, we have the pampas cat. Now we're getting into the almost phantasmagorical cats. Very little is known about this species, except that they're ruthless hunters, with a success rate of around 30%. Depending on who you ask, the pampas cat is one of several closely related species. They're rodent specialists and hunt wild guinea pigs and vizcachas, which are rodents with bunny ears. In some parts of their territory, they also go for birds, like the mostly ground-dwelling tinamou. These solitary cats ambush their prey, but have also been known to dig their prey out of their burrows. Unfortunately, not much footage exists of this beautiful species, but once it does, we'll be the first to show it to you. At number 6, we have a fan favorite, the ridiculously charismatic and deadly sand cat. The killer of the desert, successful in up to 35% of its hunts. Sand cats are full of unique adaptations to survive in the desert. They have long fur to protect their paw pads from the scorching sand, which can sometimes be up to 80 degrees Celsius. Their amazing hearing helps them find any potential meal scurrying around in the sand from hundreds of meters away, and their massive eyes pinpoint food in the dead of night, when they do most of their hunting. In the desert, there's no room to be picky. Sandcats will eat anything. Insects, rodents, birds. Whatever falls on their path is a meal. And in their habitat, this is especially important because since there's no water, sandcats need the moisture inside their prey for hydration. They drink the blood of their prey. Pretty badass little cuties. We're at the halfway mark of our list, so let's name a bonus small cat. One that hides outside your window and under your bed. The one species with the most confirmed kills worldwide. The human's trusty assassin sidekick, the domestic cat. The reason why these murder kittens are not on the list is because their success rate varies wildly depending on the individual and the environment. An outdoor cat can go for rodents, birds, and larger insects, and are generally effective about 10 to 15% of the time, while feral cats can have up to a 35% success rate. But there are so many cats worldwide that they still manage to kill 2.5 billion birds a year. Cats maintain their wild instincts even after thousands of years of domestication and have extremely negative effects on urban and suburban ecosystems. So please, if you have an outdoor cat, consider keeping it inside, or spay or neuter it so that it doesn't contribute to the feral cat population. Okay, now we're getting into the real stone-cold killers. The kitties that send a shiver down every rodent's tiny spine. At number 5, with a 40% hunting success rate, we have one of the most widespread cats you've likely never seen in the wild. The improbably regal jungle cat. Jungle cats thrive in wetlands and dense forests, from the Middle East to Southeast Asia. Their svelte body is built to glide across environments full of danger and low visibility. They're hunted by leopards, tigers, bears, crocs, dholes, and birds of prey. Because of this, they're understandably skittish and very rarely seen by humans. But this trial by fire has only made them stronger. Forced to live always on the lookout for danger, jungle cats have turned into stealth masters that can catch rodents effortlessly. They usually hunt around water, waiting for prey to lower their guard before pouncing. If they're spotted, they can chase prey on land, in trees, and even in water. Truly a menace to small mammals across their range. At number 4, we have the stretched-out cousin of the caracal. With similar jumping prowess, but even longer limbs to thrust itself onto vlay rats or other small prey, with a 40 to 45% hunting success rate. This is the serval. Servals are extraordinary jumpers, with a leaping distance of over 3 meters. This is useful when catching rodents on the ground or birds taking flight. Their beautiful coats camouflage them as they sneak their way through the grass of the African savanna. Their large ears are like antennae, always tuning in to the sounds of prey scurrying on the ground. Once prey is detected, servals jump into the air and land with their front paws, stunning their prey. This lethal combination of stealth, speed, and power makes them one of the deadliest cats in the world. To make the podium of the deadliest cats in the world, sometimes you have to go a little off script. This cat challenges one of the main rules of catdom, hating water. These guys not only love water, they kill in it. At number 3, with a 45% hunting success rate, we have the amazing fishing cat. The fishing cat has adapted to life in the marshlands and swamps of South and Southeast Asia by learning to catch the most abundant prey in their ecosystem, fish. These cats sit at the edge of the water, perfectly camouflaged thanks to their mottled coats. And if a fish makes the rookie mistake of getting too close, the cat uses its broad webbed paw to snatch it out of the water. When other prey, like crustaceans or frogs, are in the water, the fishing cat dives in and catches it while fully submerged. Who knows, maybe in a few million years, they'll evolve to be fully aquatic. Cat dolphins!
At number 2, we have one of the smallest of the small cats. This silver medalist weighs only about 2 pounds, a quarter of your average house cat's weight. But mass is no matter of concern for this hunter. With a 50% success rate, this is the second deadliest cat in the world, the rusty spotted cat. Tiny and incredibly agile, the rusty spotted cat is a specialist in jungle warfare. Any potential prey knows that behind any bush, around any corner, and always on the prowl, the rusty spotted cat is ready to kill. The forests of India are home to this little hunter. Its big eyes help the rusty spotted cat observe rodents in the dead of night. A quick, silent pounce and a bite to the neck turns its prey into the dead of that night. After it kills, the rusty spotted cat disappears into the shadows, not to be seen until it gets hungry again. Finally, we get to number 1. What could be the deadliest cat? Maybe an ocelot? Or a monkey-eating Margay? No. The wildcat that gave rise to domestic cats? Also no. The answer is surprising due to the rarity of the cat. Why isn't the deadliest cat more common? The gold medalist for deadliest cat is the African black-footed cat, with a whopping 60% hunting success rate. The black-footed cat is a dryland specialist. It lives in almost barren terrain, but survives due to its hunting prowess. It only weighs around 3 pounds, but it eats around a third of its own weight every night. Its massive eyes, which make them also gold medalists as the most adorable cat, help the black-footed cat find prey across their vast domain. A single kitty can walk up to 30 kilometers every night in search of food. As black-footed cats do their patrols, they search for mice, large insects, and birds. A flurry of claws and fangs appear out of the darkness, and the prey is no more. It becomes merely a statistic, one of the thousands of kills each of these cats claim every year. So there you have it, the 10 deadliest and probably cutest small cats in the world. Let me know which one was your favorite and who deserves its own full episode. Let's be honest, it's all of them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every week. See ya! Meow 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow.
The Arabian Desert, one of the harshest ecosystems on the planet. Summer days see scorching temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius. And during winter nights, the temperatures plunge well past -25. The animals that call these dunes, rocks, and canyons home specialize in the extreme. One of these desert residents is a small one that you may have never